Today, I am covering Matama. Both Matamas. I forgot that they existed, if I'm being honest with you. But this is... It's crazy to me that this one is, like, top 5 at least. Meanwhile, this one is hardly ever talked about. So, let's start off with the good one. Matama the Oracle targets anything with a trait, 100% chance to slow for 3.33 seconds with 5-second attack frequency, 160-second recharge time, 4k DPS, 30,000 HP, 250 range, resist against all traits as well, and then a couple of immunities. Mitama has fallen off. Ever since UL started, Mitama has been falling off thanks to not being immune to Curse, not being immune to Surge, having low range, and not, fitting the meta. And then the other Mitama has stayed about the same. Nobody uses her unless, she's your only anti-trait list. She actually has more range than normal Mitama, more DPS, more base HP. Same attack frequency, I think same speed. Yeah, same speed, same knockback count, same all that. LD is the same. But she targets traitless and is resistant to traitless, but she also weakens traitless. And then same immunities, I'm pretty sure. So base stats wise, Dark Matama is actually quite a bit better because it's a good bit more DPS. Jackbox Stream 1? Never. But am I doing a speedrun? I'm just trying to get through the basics though, because I want to compare them instead of just talking about them. But I also just talk fast, so. You share brain cells with a lot of people, so you basically have a brain. I don't have any brain cells. But anyway. Mitama also has the first form, but since she doesn't slow in first form, I kind of don't see the point. But yeah, like the guaranteed chance to slow against traded enemies is really good. However, a lot of people praise her as if she has like 100% uptime. No, there's a solid second and a second and a half where she is not slowing the enemies. And with her LD, it makes, in my opinion, this makes her overrated as fuck. Because then she's, easily rushed down by things like Arost variants. Not Arost itself, but Arost variants. Boar variants. And, pretty much anything that rushes. I think that makes Mitama overrated. Especially since, whenever you're slowing something, it's typically going to be something that, is somewhat quick with a lot of damage. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm going to be honest. She ain't doing much. Yes, she has a lot of knockbacks, but to a certain point, you're just gonna get juggled, or you're going to get pushed back all the way to your base, and you don't want that. So, she doesn't do a good job of tanking thanks to her 15 knockbacks. She doesn't do that great of a job against slowing things that are, rushing you because of her LD and openings between slows. And she also doesn't work well in the meta nowadays because she's not immune to Surge or Curse. The range is a bit of a bummer now. It's still good, but being mid-range puts her in danger of backliners. Yeah. Literally any trait list that pushes. Yeah, I mean, obviously any trait list will, kill her, but don't use her against trait lists. That's all you gotta do. Yeah, backliners, LD... big range enemies, all that stuff will pretty much ruin her, especially with her low speed. If she just gets juggled, she's not doing anything. So I think she's really overrated, and she has been for a long time. Just because, I don't know, 30,000 base HP as well isn't really that much. Even with the multiplier of treasured, traits. I mean, what? This is 150,000 HP at level 30? Which is good. But on something that, I don't know. I feel like she's so slow and she's a mid-range tank as well, and her damage is kind of underwhelming. I mean, she's overrated. I genuinely think that Dark Phono is better for slow, for damage, for range, for HP, for recharge time. She's just overrated. In general, people say people compare her to Dark Phono. Dark Phono is in another league compared to Mitama, unfortunately. Tacky ruins her, and a lot like there's just a lot of things that ruin her nowadays. Especially since like I mean, she's super prone to getting rushed and there's a lot of rushing enemies that are a problem, and that's the main thing you want slow for is for enemies that rush. However, she doesn't really do that great of a job since I mean, between her standing range and the start of her LD, there's only 100 range there. If she gets caught off guard, she's going to get rushed down. And even though she can keep getting knocked back and stuff, that's a problem because what you really want from her is to protect your attackers. If she keeps getting knocked back, your attackers are going to be getting hit. And they're going to die. So, like, you know, yeah. And then, meanwhile, Dark Matama, her usage has stayed relatively the same because she has better base stats and targets traitless with weaken in addition to the slow. And then also, like, same immunities and stuff. Her base stats are better, her standing range is better, her niche is better against one targeted trait. Like, I just think, like, you're going to use Dark Matama about as much as you used to. So, like, she's very good specialist. Meanwhile, Mitama, she's kind of fallen off in recent ages. But she's still really good, don't get me wrong. She's just always been overrated, in my opinion. I also think that Kazuchizo's overrated, Balrog is overrated, all of that stuff. So, like... But yeah, if it isn't traitless or cursed, then yeah, she can do fine. Well, I mean, you say that, but like, there's a lot of things that can still hit her. Because of LD, longer range, just juggling her. Like, she gets juggled by camels, I'm pretty sure. So she can't even tank to hit things in the back. Anteaters, all that stuff. Like, she's actually not that useful, in my opinion, for the most part, nowadays. But yeah, she's good generally, but like, there's a lot of stages that just, like, have counters for her nowadays, I feel like. Dark Funnel you would consider to be jack of all trades. That's understandable. But what do you mean master of none? I don't know what you mean by master of none. He's better at slowing than Mitama, in my opinion. Thanks to his mini surges, his slow is very effective. Like, his slow is very effective. Probably close to as good as her slow. Yeah, vibing to filibuster music. That's why I have it there, so that we can vibe while I yap a lot. Epic Fest seems to have a secret trend nobody remembers. They don't get less relevant than they were on release. That's actually true. Like, that's actually somewhat true. Is that Epic Fest, since they target traitless, and traitless still doesn't have that many targets, or it's that many counters, anti-traitless Ubers have stayed relatively as valuable as they once were. Especially since Epic Fest are also immune to waves, and one of the main traitless enemies that we got recently, or one of the main ones that you want to, you know, have traitless counters for, is Mr. Myrrh. And pretty much every Epic Fest is immune to wave, so they all stay just as valuable. Meanwhile, the Generalists are, you know, they're getting kind of screwed over because they're Generalists. You're going to have specialists that do better than them. You're going to have other Generalists that can compare to them, and you know. Okay, Izanami can tank the waves from Mr. Murr at the very least, and can absolutely nuke it down. But that is weird. It is so weird that Izanami is not immune to wave. That's why you put, but he's damn close, because roughly 40% slow uptime is great. I feel like it's more than 40% though, thanks to his curse, or his mini surge though. I think you're underestimating that mini surge. Because it does help a lot with his slow. I think it's probably 50 to 60% slow uptime. Especially with his multi-hit, the way his multi-hit works, is that the last hit is going to be after the first hit. So during his entire multi-hit, he's slowing. Let me talk about this for a second. During his entire multi-hit, he's slowing. And something that you may forget is that all three of his attacks can overlap. So if something's taking on all three hits, that's at the 3 second and then the 4 second backswing. There's only going to be 1 second. Or, sorry, there's only going to be 2 seconds before he's attacking again. And that's not even including the mini surge that'll probably hit after the attack is done. So, like, it's going to be at least 50% from what I can tell. So, like, don't underestimate him. Don't underestimate his slow. It's very good. But yeah, and then also immune to knockback is kind of useless because she's just gonna get knocked back by everything. Immune to weaken can be nice against things like Anya, but like not very often. Freeze and slow for Henry, I guess, but like it's not that useful. Her immunities really aren't that useful. She's old. She's an old unit, and you can tell. So like, she's just. I think she has aged poorly, unfortunately. But yeah, so I think Matama's overrated. Even now, I think people still overrate her just because they wanna cling on to her because they think she's oh so very good. Means knockback is effective with wafer tank spam. Yeah, and how often do you see wafer in the fucking game? I've seen it like maybe twice, and not even in the actual game. That's an event. Not immune to weaken is useless. She would get knocked back anyway most of the time. Well, she can at least get like a hidden probably, unless her speed is just too low for Anya. That's like but like Anya's like the only thing I can really tell is worth it, along with Calamari. I think Calamari is also another thing that Matama can do well against because of her LD and immune to weaken. I do believe that. So, you know. Dark Matama honestly doesn't need immune to weaken because what traitless weakens? So I think it's mainly the slow and freeze, which helps against Henry and Croakley. Which is actually a very, like, these are very good immunities for Dark Matama. But for this Matama, they're not that great, I'll be honest. So it's like she has less of a synergy with the rest of her niche. Meanwhile, this one works very well with her entire niche. Uh, Especially since she also gets a weaken. Like, Dark Matama, I think getting the weaken makes her, like, one of the best anti-traitless support. One of the best anti-traitless support is easily... Honestly, she may be the best anti-traitless support. Thanks to this weaken and slow. With LD. You didn't realize? Yeah, Gothic Matama has 25 more standing range as well. Which is nice. Like, it's not backliner by any means, but it is still better. All Matama needs is 450 range, smaller blind spot, surge immune, and curse immune. You're asking for a lot. You're asking for an entire extra 100 standing range. Smaller blind spot, so what, you want this to go down to 200? She'll still get rushed down fairly easily. Except with the higher standing range, I think it would be much harder. Much, much harder. And then surge immune, like... I think Surge Immune and Curse Immune is already, like, a lot. Like, I honestly think that Surge Immune, Curse Immune, and maybe Omni Strike instead... Honestly, give her Omni Strike instead of LD, and I think she'll work amazingly. Just give her Omni Strike instead of LD, and she's amazing. Like, honestly, though, Omni Strike is all she needs instead of LD. Even consider her a nuker because she has 15 knockbacks and 0 backswing. I don't think you mean 0 backswing. I think you mean she's entirely backswing, which would make her more of a rusher. Rushers typically have entirely backswing rather than just standing there with time between attacks. So, you know. Back when Omni didn't exist, I don't know when Omni was introduced. Do you think Faz could get a true form in version 15.0? When will that be coming out? Like, what, December? Something like that? Probably not. I mean, I doubt it, at least, but maybe. When enemies push, he responds with the nuke damage upon knockback? Yeah, that's not nuking. That is... I mean, it's not... First of all, it's not even that much damage, which nuking is defined as a lot of damage. But, she's more of a, like, rusher type thing, because, what is it? She's a rebound unit. She's not a nuker, she's rebound. She's a rebound unit. So, what happens is she gets knocked back and she immediately attacks. However, with her low speed, it kind of makes it so that she's, like... It's a weird balance between nuker and rebound unit. And also, nuke... nuke and burst... are two different things, but nuke is an official term. But she is not defined as a nuker, so I'm not going to say that she nukes, alright? Dealing any amount of damage is not nuking. Comparable to Yukimura? Exactly. But that's why I didn't want to say she's a rusher. I was trying to find the right term for it, and it's rebound unit. With almost her entire animation being backswing. So she's a rebound unit. And I think burst could be a good word to describe her attacks, but like she's just a rebound unit. I don't get why you have to classify normal ass attacks as, you know, that kind of thing. Like if you get all of the knockbacks out of her, then she's doing like a lot of fucking damage. But you have to let her get hit, and if she's a tank and support, that means that you'll be letting her get knocked back, and that'll make your other attackers, get hit. And so, like, if you're using her optimally, then chances are you're having to revolve your strategy around her, meaning that she's a standalone unit, and you guys should know at this point how I feel about standalone units. I would much prefer support and synergetic units than standalone. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. If you guys did enjoy, please do come back for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!